Hello everyone. This video presents a notable event that happened on each day from the past week in history. On December 1st, 1984, a joint operation between NASA and the FAA conducted a controlled impact demonstration, a fancy way of saying purposely crashing an unoccupied jetliner. The test crash was conducted at Edwards Air Force Base in California with a landing strip at Rogers Dry Lake. The remotely controlled jet was a Boeing 720, a narrowed-down version of the ubiquitous 707. A four-engine jetliner that could carry 131 passengers, the 720 was a good representation of the airliners of the time. The doomed jet was loaded with cameras, sensors, and recording equipment, and the data derived from the intentional crash was used to develop new safety standards for airliners. Conclusions included that airliners should have a head-up display for the pilots and a microwave landing system. On December 2, 1927, Henry Ford revealed the successor to his iconic Model T, the Ford Model A. While the Ford Model T at one time comprised half or more of all the cars in the world, the Model A was also a success. After 18 years of production, the Model T had become dated and sales slowed. The Model A reached 3 million in sales by March of 1930 and was offered in 9 styles, the cheapest of which cost only $385. A total of 4.8 million were made. The 4-cylinder engine pumped out 40 horsepower, allowing a blazing 65 miles per hour top speed. Nifty options included a choice of 4 colors, a rear-view mirror, and even a heater of sorts that used engine exhaust heat. Have you driven a Ford lately? On December 3, 1800, the Electoral College tallied votes in the presidential election and found the two main contenders, Thomas Jefferson and Aaron Burr, were tied. Incredible though it seems today, Burr was actually the vice presidential running mate of Jefferson that year, but electoral rules at the time allowed each elector to vote for 2 people, the second highest vote getter becoming vice president. Jefferson and Burr beat incumbent John Adams, and a special election in the House of Representatives was held to pick a winner between Jefferson and Burr, with Jefferson winning that vote. In 1824, the presidential election also went to the House, as no candidate received a majority of electoral votes. Andrew Jackson received the most popular and electoral votes, but a runoff was held between Jackson and runner-up J.Q. Adams, with Adams winning the House vote. As a question for my students and subscribers, who is your favorite president of the United States? On December 4th, 1971, rock legend Frank Zappa and his band, the Mothers of Invention, were holding a concert at the Montreux Casino in Switzerland on the shores of beautiful Lake Geneva when disaster struck. A misguided fan thought it was a good idea to launch a flare from a flare pistol into the ceiling of the place, causing a fire that brought the building down. The fire was significant enough on its own, but was immortalized by the Deep Purple hit Smoke on the Water, since Deep Purple was at a nearby hotel waiting to record their own songs at the casino the next day. Deep Purple members watched the fire in horror and awe, and found the inspiration for their iconic song, the lyrics mentioning Montreux, Frank Zappa and the Mothers, Lake Geneva, and, quote, "some stupid with a flare gun burned the place to the ground," end quote. They also mentioned the, quote, "smoke on the water and fire in the sky," end quote. On December 5, 1831, former President of the U.S., John Quincy Adams, took his seat in the House of Representatives as a congressman, and he would later die while still serving in the House in 1848. Some of the activities of other former U.S. presidents include Grover Cleveland, after leaving the White House in 1889, being again elected president and serving a second term from 1893 to 1897. Teddy Roosevelt, after serving as commander-in-chief from 1901 to 1909, went on an epic African safari in 1909 and 1910, killing or capturing 11,400 animals for the Smithsonian Institution. After losing the 1912 presidential election, TR went on a South American expedition in 1913 to 1914. William Howard Taft, after leaving the Oval Office in 1913, became Chief Justice of the Supreme Court in 1921. On December 6, 1884, the Washington Monument in Washington, D.C. was completed. A spectacular structure, the tall white obelisk was the tallest man-made structure in the world when complete, over 554 feet tall, losing that title to the Eiffel Tower in 1889, although it still is the world's tallest monumental column. Some other magnificent American monuments include Mount Rushmore, South Dakota, carved into bare rock to depict the likenesses of 4 of our greatest presidents. Completed in 1941, each head is about 60 feet tall with eyes 11 feet wide. Crazy Horse Memorial, South Dakota, dedicated to a great Oglala Lakota chief. It is another massive sculpture carved into a mountain and will be the second largest sculpture in the world when it is finally complete. Work started in 1948. What is the greatest American monument? On December 7, 2020, fighter ace and aviation record breaker Chuck Yeager, Brigadier General, U.S. Air Force, died at the age of 97. Yeager was known to say, "There are old pilots and bold pilots, but no old bold pilots." Perhaps not an original quotation, but generally true, although Yeager was indeed a bold pilot and died at an old age. Yeager, a World War II ace, shot down 11.5 enemy planes, one of which was an Me-262 jet. Yeager was shot down in 1944 but evaded capture in occupied France and even operated with the French resistance before escaping back to England. Yeager became a test pilot after the war and made history as the first pilot to break the speed of sound in level flight in a Bell X-1 rocket plane in 1947. Who is the greatest pilot in history? As a question for my students and subscribers, which event from this past week in history would you most like to learn more about? Please let me know in the comment section below this video. If you liked this video and would like to receive notification of new videos, please feel welcome to subscribe to History and Headlines and become one of our patrons. Your viewership is much appreciated. For image, audio, and other credits and attributions for components of the individual videos in this compilation, please see the descriptions of their respective videos, which are linked to in this video's description.